Alright, so this is a test, and it is actually the first video that I'm shooting. I'm not sure how the audio will come out just on the camera's audio like this, but it's a test, and it's a kind of a good test because I just got back from getting a ticket from a police officer here in Honolulu, and there is a stay-at-home order in effect. But you wouldn't know it if you went out on the street or to the parks or anywhere else for that matter, as there are a lot of people in the water, paddling, walking, jogging. I mean, I could look outside my balcony right now and you'll see people walking around. So I went over to the park today. So I just got this camera and I just got this lens. It's called the Nifty 50. And I wanted to just test it out, quick shoot. And I'd been in the parking lot literally for about a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And a police officer came up, and this is at a boat launch. I mean, there's people coming in from fishing, there's people washing their boats off at the boat racks, there's people paddling, there's people in the parking lot, but where I was, there was nobody around. So he came up and he goes, "Hi sir, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I just got this camera, I'm gonna test it out." And then right away he's like, "Oh," like it kind of like he was like, "Oh, click, you get a ticket." So he didn't say that, but his actions in the car, like as soon as I said, "Oh, I'm just testing out this camera," he was like, and then he went and started undoing his seatbelt, gets out of the car, and I said, "You're gonna give me a ticket?" And he said, "Yeah, there's a stay-at-home order in effect." And I said, "Okay, so what about all these other people in the parking lot that are fishing and around? They're in groups of people." And he's like, "Well, they're fishing, and if they're in the water, then no problem." So I said, "Okay, so I'm gonna go for a swim then." And he goes, "Not after you give me your ID." And I said, "No." And he goes, "Then I'm gonna have to arrest you. I'll arrest you then." And I'm like, "You kidding me, right?" And he goes, "Nope." So I got him my ID, gave it to him. I told him this is fucking bullshit. It's just like, enforcing the stay-at-home order, okay, I get it. If you're gonna have a stay-at-home order, then enforce it for everybody. Everybody, right? So anyway, I told him this is fucking bullshit, and he, I guess his supervisor, this guy, plenty stars on his chest. I think he was a major. He must be in charge of the whole district out here in Hawaii Kai. But I think he probably heard me say that, so he got out of his car and came over, and he told me that they're just doing their job. And I said, I understand that. I'm prime service. I work for the city and county of Honolulu for a long time too. I totally get it. I get it. And then he said, "Are you aware that there's a stay-at-home order?" And I said, "I've heard that there's a stay-at-home order in effect, but the looks of it, it's like it's not being enforced." So he goes, "Well, that's why I'm enforcing it." So I said, "Okay, brother, you know what? I understand that. I totally get it." And he goes, "Orders are orders." So I go, "Okay, I understand orders too. I understand that. And I also understand being flexible and being lenient. Where if your boy came up and said, 'Oh, sir, what are you doing?' And then the guy said, or I said, taking some pictures, I just got a brand new camera," and he goes, and the guy says, "Oh, you gotta leave. There's a stay-at-home order in effect." Then I would be more in like, okay, this is being enforced. No problem, thanks officer, I'm out of there. So I told that to the major that's in charge of this whole district, and he goes, "Well, we're a paramilitary force." And I go, "Paramilitary? Brother, you guys aren't paramilitary. You guys are helping us stay safe. Like you guys, I'm a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen. Like, I don't have a long rap sheet or a record or anything like that. I served our country too. Like I get it, but there's like you guys are not a paramilitary force." And he goes, "Well, you're entitled to your opinion." So I said, "Okay, interesting. I always thought that the police, you know, and I got a lot of friends that are police officers, man, like plenty. I do jujitsu with plenty. And I've never, not once, heard them call themselves paramilitary. So maybe that's a new term for me. I wasn't aware that the police force is a paramilitary force, or if that's what they're referring themselves to nowadays. I always thought that they were here to help and serve the community. I never really thought of them as a paramilitary force. So anyway, driving home, I'm like, man, so I look up paramilitary force, and I guess by definition, the police could be considered paramilitary. I never really understood that. So I was just thinking back to a couple of conversations that I've had over the last couple of days with some team members in my organization, and we've been talking a lot about freedom and a lot about liberty and the difference between the two, because a lot of people don't understand the differences between the two. But in a nutshell, liberty is being able to do things without many restrictions. Freedom is being able to basically be you, to say what you want to say, and not worry about the repercussions, you know, of doing things within reason, of course, everything within reason. So when I hear a police officer who is high ranking and one of his guys exercising their orders, you know, their orders handed down to them, I guess, by the mayor, to enforce a stay-at-home effect on certain individuals, but not all individuals. I find that very interesting, you know, and it's to me, it's kind of like taking away some of my liberty and you know, my constitutional rights. So if there's gonna be a stay-at-home order in effect for the state of Hawaii, then it needs to be enforced for everyone. I don't agree with the stay-at-home order. I mean, I have my own opinions about the whole pandemic in itself. But if they're gonna say that there's a stay-at-home order and it's in effect, and they're out there giving citations to people who are potentially just sitting in their cars while other people are gathering in groups and saying that they're paddling or fishing because they're near the ocean and they don't get a citation, I mean, that kind of sucks. I mean, more power to them, man. Like, next time I'll just say I'm testing my camera and I'm like swimming at the same time instead of testing my camera in the parking lot right next to the ocean. Like, that's how idiotic this thing is to me. So for the mayor, it's like, I'm kind of pissed off, so you can probably tell. But anyway, to the officers out there, I realize you're doing your job and I appreciate you. I truly do. And I just, you know, yeah, it's an interesting time. I don't usually get flustered like this, but this is the kind of a test for this camera, a true test for my own patience today. I don't get upset normally about things like this, but today with the way that this afternoon went at that beach park, at that boat launch in Hawaii Kai, it's mind-boggling to me that they can have orders to cite and potentially arrest citizens for literally sitting in their car while others are or alone by themselves taking pictures, testing out a camera, while others are gathering and doing other things in the park. I don't quite understand that.